Today I've got the Acebeam TK18. This is an EDC style flashlight powered by an 18650. It's got triple emitters and a tail button. Comes in 3 different LED options as well as 3 different material options: copper, aluminum, which I've got here, and titanium. Thanks to Night Torch for sending this to me to look at and review. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you're not already. And don't forget to follow me on social media too. It really helps to support the channel. The packaging on the TK18 is this nice white box. It's a heavy cardboard box with labeling on the side to tell you which LED options there are. Nothing on the back. It's a whole box, which is nice to see here. You get a few extras here. You get the manual, you get a micro USB to USB-A cable here, and alongside that has that place where you can plug in an additional USB cable. This is to charge your phone or something like that, and it plugs in directly to the battery, not to the side of the light. And you've got your extras bag here, which I'll put a picture in of what it includes. As mentioned before, the TK18 is available in 3 different materials: aluminum, which I have here, a raw copper, and a titanium. The anodizing here is a flat black, and it kind of reminds me of Army Tech if you've had one of their lights. It's a little bit chalky. Starting at the tail switch, like I always do, you've got the electronic switch here, and it's covered by a small silicone button with a nice texture on it, and it's fairly quiet. You've got the place where the lanyard goes on the side of the cap here. And the cap itself doesn't really have any knurling on it, which is fine. You can still grip it. Got a small spring on the inside. This is a dual wall construction light, which is pretty nice given how thin this is. And your threads here are square cut and with a little bit of grease. While I've got out, here is the battery that they use. Battery is optional with this light, but some packages do come with it. Mine did. 3100 milliamp hour. It is button top and protected. You've got a little LED indicator on here, and that LED indicator does stay on all the time. Green when charged, red when charging. On the side, you've got a micro USB port, so this is a little bit longer 18650 than normal. The body tube here is kind of like a frag pattern. It's not full frag like some lights have, but they're shallower and they're nicely radiused on the corners, so they're not quite as aggressive. Top here is where the pocket clip attaches. It is a non-captured clip, and it spins fairly freely, as you can see here. More on that in a minute. The light does detach at the head. At the top here, you do have this captured arrangement where the battery won't pass all the way through. That's why you need that button top protected battery. Your contact there, and this is a spring and a little side clip for the outside ring there. The head itself here is pretty plain. You've got a little bit larger diameter for a little bit of heat sinking and style. Minimal branding, which I like. At the top here, you do have this crenulated bezel here, and this is a little bit aggressive. I found when I carried this in my pocket, it caught a little bit, but not too bad. This is removable fairly easily. I have it screwed down tight. On top here, you do have that Carrillo style optic with a piece of glass on top. I measured the overall length at 105 millimeters, minimum diameter on the body at 22.28 millimeters, maximum diameter at the head at 25.19. Weight with the clip and the battery was 109.1 grams, and the light is IPX8 water rated. And here are a few pictures of similar style lights. I've got an Olight Baton 2 Pro. You can see they are almost identical in length, with the baton being slightly longer. And you can see diameter-wise, they're very, very similar as well, with the big difference, the Acebeam being a triple and the Olight being a single. Here is the Olight Warrior Mini, and this will be my next review light. So make sure you're subscribed with that notification bell turned on so you don't miss the review on this one. It's looking good, but you can see lengthwise, these two are basically identical. Warrior Mini does have a little bit smaller diameter, which I like. Both have a nice texture to them, both nice lights. The Acebeam TK18 comes with a dual direction pocket clip here, which you can see it attaches to the front of the light only and is not captured, and it's just a little bit loose for my liking. It spins too easily. It has ample room for material for your pockets up here at the top, but it's not quite as tight as I'd like it here on the bottom. And this top part that you'd attach to a hat is very tight, so it's kind of a mix of everything. It sticks out a little bit further than I'd like to, further than some of the Olight clips, so it's just a little bit different animal here. I usually like these style of clips, but this one is only so-so. I did carry around this in my pocket, didn't have any major issues. I don't like this a little bit more aggressive bezel up front. I just find my hand brushes on it a little bit too often. I think they could either give you an optional bezel that is less aggressive, or chamfer this one just a little bit more. The LEDs in my light here are the Samsung LH351Ds, and they are a cool white. At this point, I think I've got all major tints of the LH351Ds, and unfortunately, cool white happens to be my least favorite just because of the tint. Other than that, they're generally a great LED. In the TK18, you can also get the Osram KWCLLNMTG LEDs and Nisha 219Cs. The Nisha 219Cs are the ones I wish I would have gone with because they are high CRI and are likely a warmer tint than what I've got here, but this is the light with the most amount of output. As mentioned, it's a pretty small diameter bezel here for this optic, which I like. The beam itself is fairly floody, but it can throw at higher powers, and in my opinion, it's a nice beam for EDC, especially out of a triple, and no PWM was observed. So the mode spacing with the Samsung LED cool white emitters with a 20 amp 18650 battery in power mode are 3 lumens, 80 lumens, 200, 1000, 3000. This light also has an eco mode, which is what it ships in, and the mode spacing for that is 380, 200, 260, and 1450. Here are my night shots for the Acebeam TK18, and I've got it here on eco, which is 3 lumens, and yeah, like normal, you can barely see it. Bumping up, we get 80 lumens, and nice shape of the beam here. This is a Carrillo optic, a fairly wide one for this triple emitter, and you can see it does a decent job. Here is 200 lumens. I do have the light in power mode. Here is 1000 lumens. This is that Samsung LH351D emitter in cool white. Even though I'm not a huge fan of cool white, this isn't too bad. It's not too overly blue. And here's turbo, full 3000 lumens. Here is the Wukos FC11. This has also got that Samsung LH351D emitter, but it's a warmer, more neutral tint, about 4500, 5000 Kelvin, I believe. And here's that comparison to the Acebeam, just the cooler emitter versus the more neutral. This is a single emitter in the Wukos, so you can see it throws a little bit better. It's not quite as wide, versus the Acebeam's much more of a floody, even beam. And last but not least, here is the Olight Baton Pro. This is an SST40, about 2000 lumens, single emitter. We can see it goes out here pretty nicely, not too bad, compared to the Acebeam's more floody 3000 lumen mode. Olight, single emitter, Acebeam, triple. I did all my heat and runtime tests with that included Acebeam battery that I showed earlier. You need a battery capacity of at least 20 amps sustained to be able to get close to the rated outputs. The light will also run off 2 CR123As with about half the normal outputs in high and turbo, but similar overall runtimes. My tests were unknowingly done in eco mode. Make sure you read the directions, guys, before using your flashlight so you can switch it into power mode and get that full 3000 lumens if you want to. I'll put some graphics of what turbo mode looks like here at the end. In eco, I was able to hold 1450 lumens for 5 minutes and 30 seconds before stepping down, and this was pretty good. Step down was 55% relative output, where it held for 2 hours and 17 minutes. Starting at the 2 hour mark, light starts flashing and dropping output near 20%, and then back up to 55% to let you know the battery's getting low. This continues as the light does its last major step down to 6% relative output for the remaining hour. Total runtime in eco from turbo was 3 hours and 15 minutes, and max temp I saw was 52C at 10 minutes in eco. Here are a couple of graphs of what output was like in power mode with the same supplied battery. You have two main UI groups in this light. As mentioned before, you've got eco and power. By default, the light ships in eco mode. To switch between them, you have to lock the light. And to do that, you press and hold this tail button for 5 seconds. And when it does that, the light flashes to let you know that it's in lockout. Once locked, you click the tail clap 10 times, and the light turns from a lower output to a high output, and means the light's in power mode. And it's similar action to go backwards. So normal mode operation here is just a quick press, and the light turns on. You can press and hold, and the light will cycle between low, medium, and high. You can double press to go to turbo, triple press to go to strobe, click again to go off, and if you long press from off, you get the ultra low mode of 3 lumens. So as you can see there, it's a simple UI if you take out the switch between eco and power. I just prefer they just use one mode here. It just would make things simpler. Recharging, my light came with this Acebeam 3100 milliamp hour battery. It is an optional battery on some packages, so make sure you read finely if you're gonna pick up this light. It's got a micro USB port here on the side for charging and is a pretty long cell at 69.95 millimeters in length. It's got an LED indicator here at the top, and it always glows green when the battery itself is charged. When it is discharged, it does shut off. I charged the light from low voltage protection at 2.961 volts to full at 4.168 volts in 2 hours 31 minutes. Max charge rate I saw was 1.1 amps. The charge curve starts off slow like you like to see and then increases substantially and trails off. I have no issues here other than it's just a little bit slow. So for me, the pros are I find this is a good looking light. I like the copper accents in the clip and the bezel. I just wish they didn't put the big Acebeam branding here on the side. This is a pretty small diameter for a double tube triple LED light. It's a little bit on the pricey side, I think, for not having a battery that comes in all packages, but aluminum is fairly affordable. The cons for me are there's no tint data for the LED choice given. The LH351Ds here are a cool white and quite floody. It doesn't seem to hit those 3000 lumens when compared with other lights, even in the power mode. And that front bezel needs to be toned down a little bit for a heads-up EDC light, in my opinion. My conclusion is that the Acebeam TK18 here is an interesting light overall. Visually, I like the look of most of it here. The aged copper and black I think are nice. I wish the clip didn't have that Acebeam website on it because I think that's just a little bit distracting. It's pretty thin for a triple LED, which helps it carry well in the pocket. It has a decent clip and it's narrower than many of the competitors' LED lights with only a single emitter. That said, I don't care for the semi-aggressive bezel here at the top. As mentioned in my pocket, it's just a little bit rough. I typically love the Samsung LH351D emitters here. I've got it in other lights that I really like, and I'd probably recommend you go with the Nisha 219Cs instead to get high CRI and hopefully a little bit warmer tint, but that's up to personal preference. You do give up some output. Personally, I'm okay with that. I don't need 3000 lumens in a EDC torch. The UI here is easy to follow, but I don't really care for that eco and power setting. I think it adds unnecessary complexity. It's nice to be able to use CR123As too in a pinch, but it's not something you see that often anymore. Overall, if you're looking for a small diameter triple and wanted something a little bit different with LED options and material options that would be reliable, I think this is a solid choice. Just make sure you use a very capable battery for maximum performance. Thanks guys for watching this video. I hope I've earned your like and subscription to the channel. Don't forget, I'll have a new review out next week. I look forward to seeing you on that review and catch you later.